what is a freak off. The freak off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism.
He had everything to do with what she was wearing. She said she would buy outfits from sex shops and see which one he wanted her to wear. And then inside the actual hotel rooms, their apartments where the freak-offs took place, she said that Combs was in charge of lighting. It began with candles. It then moved to studio lighting.
They might say she's lying, but that's going to be a little hard to do with that.
At the beginning of the day, Diddy's family appeared in court once more with a firm demeanor, but his twin daughters, Jessie and Delilah, left the courthouse with a dejected expression and hardly a word. King and Justin, his boys, and his mother Janice were also present. No one is grinning.
We need you to step to the side. Step to the side, please. You look cold. You smile. Are you guys feeling? How do you feel today? Step to the side, please.
Watch out, watch out. Watch your butt.
Big great. How can you walk today? Congratulations at NYU check. Give us a little space. Give us a little space. Give us a little space. Golden Nation.
Nice long, you smile. Nice. That
step to the side, please.
feel like we last night being by his current stuff. Yeah.
Please. Keep us a little space. Watch out. Give us a little space, please. Oh, my. Sorry about that. Give us a little space.
Yeah. Oh,
I'm eating it. Guys, oh.
boss down down. When you're behind, he's burning it.
Back up. Sorry, back up. Push you like that. A white was right out of here. It's possible. Hey, man, Sean, man, be good, bro. Okay. Tell you.
Diddy's trial's second day just ended. Even though the prosecutors had a successful day, it wasn't a complete landslide, but at the conclusion of the day, something significant occurred that might alter everything.
Prosecution's star witness taking the stand, but it was more than that. It was how Cassie took that stand. You could hear a pin drop when those doors opened, and a visibly pregnant Cassie Ventura walking past a man she had not seen in 6.5 years. A man she says violently abused her for a decade. A man the prosecution said trafficked her. Well, she sat across from him, placed her overcoat behind her, turning her body slightly toward the jury, rubbing her pregnant belly throughout her testimony. Diddy, well, he was more fidgety than he was the day before. He was passing notes. He pushed himself away from the defense table and largely sat like that. They never seemed to make eye contact with one another, not even after she was crying about having loved him once and planning and participating in these freak-off sex parties because she feared him and she wanted to make him happy, but feeling worthless, feeling disgusting because she didn't want to do it. Now, with each moment, the testimony became more and more graphic. Her delivery, though, it never changed. It was matter of fact, steady, calm. At times, she was even critical of herself, walking us all through how a 10-album record deal came over a 10-year period of abuse and sexual humiliation. And once you hear Cassie's testimony, you'll understand why the courtroom was so...
Let us dissect it. In her frank testimony, Cassie Diddy's ex-girlfriend claimed that Diddy had threatened her in the past. He threatened to reveal private footage, which she dubbed videos, if she didn't comply. In essence, they were explicit videos of her and other individuals. She also said that he scared and controlled her with them.
That's what makes him unique, though.
Sure, but is that what he's doing? Is he running an entertainment and fashion industry, or is he running essentially a criminal organization?
By the way, we have a poll up right now. You can participate in it. Do you think Cassie Ventura was a victim or partner in this? Ready for this? 82%. Well, this doesn't make sense. 82% say yes. I don't know if that's yes to, I think we need clarification. 82% say victim or partner. We'll get a clarification on that.
By the way,
right now.
But that's my answer to that question.
Oh, okay. 82% say victim. 82% say victim. Maybe based on we're reporting on the testimony right now.
Yeah. I mean, I think she is a victim if the allegations are true, but also she is involved in some of the criminal act. I mean, she's getting those prostitutes, right? She's making payments to them, allegedly. She's having them come. So she's involved in some of the alleged criminal activity. And that's an interesting point that wouldn't just apply to her. Other people in his orbit might be some combination of victim and co-conspirator.
But you know what? That video changes everything, because the argument would be, What do you think happens if she says no?
Yeah.
What do you think happens if she says, I'm not in the mood for a freak off tonight. I'm not going to pay the dancer. That's what's going to happen. That video is arguably the most important piece of evidence because it sets the stage when we're talking about coercion or force. Question from Angelina. How old was Cassie when they first started dating? I think she was 19 years old. So you're talking about a 17-year age difference. That's important. I think that's an important factor if you're talking about power and control, right?
Yeah, absolutely. The fact that he's older and obviously has much more power anyway.
Sherry Williams asks, what kind of time is Diddy facing if he's found guilty?
That is significant because the prosecution is attempting to demonstrate that Diddy utilized coercion, which is defined as the use of force or threats. And the statement, "do what I want" or "I'll leak this video" sounds a lot like coercion. Cassie didn't state, however, Diddy said "do this" or "I'll release the video." She failed to directly link her behavior to the threat. The case might be a slam dunk if she had. She hasn't closed that loop yet. There is still some uncertainty, so the jury is left to guess. Even still, it's not insignificant that he had so much control over her. We are aware that he had previously done this to Kim Porter, who coincidentally passed away shortly before reportedly disclosing Diddy's nasty side.
You see how Albie Shore, he came out saying that Kim Porter death needs to be looked into?
I think that Al being his ex-wife, he have every right, knowing about the stuff that came out about Diddy and what he was doing. You understand what he has done in the past, and people have overlooked it. By him coming out and saying that he hoped that he could get her case reopened. There was a guy called John the Paperwork Party. They would put in an open petition to get Kim's case reopened. You understand what I'm saying? So I'll be sure doing this is showing that, he still got love for Quincy's mother. He still want to find out the truth because allegedly Kim was fine the day before and the day of her death. And then now she found in the bed dead from pneumonia. That just don't sound right, bro. That don't sound right at all.
So you feel the same way about her death being suspect?
I don't think nobody in America think it's nothing suspicious about Kim's death, bro. If you are rich like that, you could, Kim had, I think a net worth of like, 12 million a year or something like that. Kim could have called any doctor to come over and look at her. If she was that bad, she could have called an ambulance or something like that. Everything is suspicious about her death, bro. And I don't think an autopsy was done on her. And if it was a half job.
You personally, right? What do you think happened to Kim Porter?
If I say something personal, bro, and my belief, and I put it on to the public, then I might be liable.
Prosecutors now had additional unsettling testimony from Cassie. She talked about how embarrassed she was and how she didn't want to be a part of these events at all. She even claimed that she brought it up tactfully with Diddy so as not to enrage him. That demonstrates terror, but once more, it goes beyond how she felt. What he said or did to put pressure on her must be known to the jury.
Alleged criminal enterprise, and how, based on the opening statement from yesterday, he didn't just have staff who were helping him commit the crimes, but also covering them up. Just now, an update from court. Prosecutor asked Cassie Ventura, how would he keep tabs on you? To which she apparently responds, we didn't live far apart. He'd send security to come find me or a trusted assistant. Like who? David James, Christina Courtroom, who we all know has been a central figure in this case. Maybe not the criminal case, but she's come up in lawsuits before. The prosecutor asks her, was your relationship exclusive? Ventura replies, no. If she's naming names like David James or Christina Courtroom, do they have to testify, you think?
I don't think they have to testify, but I wouldn't be surprised if they did. I would think this is all planned out, that she's going to indicate some people and then the prosecution is going to bring them in later in the trial to verify, right? One thing you really want to do with a witness like this, the defense is going to say, that she's embellishing. They might say she's lying, but that's going to be a little hard to do with that video, right? They can't just say she's a liar, but they're going to say she's exaggerating, she's embellishing, they're painting it a certain way because of the case. So you have to bring in these corroborating witnesses and whatever other corroborating evidence you have to verify what it is she's saying. So it would be very useful, for example, if she says, yes, David James came around to check on me on behalf of Mr. Combs, and then David James takes the stand and says, yes, I did that.
Yeah.
That would be helpful.
Things became considerably more explicit. Cassie said Diddy or people he told to urinated on her during these events. The prosecutor inquired, "Did you want that?" "No, it was disgusting." Cassie replied bluntly, "I choked, and I didn't want anyone to do that." She claimed that it was clear she didn't want it when asked why she didn't say no. However, this is when the defense may retaliate. The law is concerned with evidence of force or threats, so they could argue, "Did you say no? Clearly, did he force you anyway?" Cassie also acknowledged that she never explicitly said stop or permission. This creates a gray area that the defense will attempt to exploit.
It'll be interesting to see how they react and respond to the alleged victim, Cassie Ventura, because she is expecting her third child and is clearly pregnant. So how jurors will kind of see that or visually how they take that into consideration, we don't know. But really, they're supposed to make sure that they stay fair and impartial and pay attention to the facts, which is something even the judge warned them about before they were official jurors.
Diddy insists he is innocent of all the accusations made against him. The prosecution's primary witness in the case against the troubled mogul is Cassie.
The defense acknowledged that the videos of alleged freak-offs will be shown, but that those videos, they said, didn't come from the government's investigation so much as it came directly from Cassie's phone. But they were essentially trying to raise doubt about why did she hold on to these videos, and again, making this argument that this case is about love and infidelity and money. But the prosecution is saying, no, you will hear from witnesses that will tell you that they were abused, they were kicked, they were punched, they were coerced to taking drugs and to performing sex acts. So this is only the beginning.
When the prosecution played the unsettling surveillance film that CNN had discovered of Diddy assaulting Cassie in a hotel, the 38-year-old singer was advised to become emotional during the testimony.
People have seen that 2016 video of Sean Combs assaulting his then girlfriend, Cassie Ventura. And the defense said, listen, what you witnessed was wrong. It was inhumane. It was horrible. But that was domestic violence. And they said that is not criminal enterprise. That is not racketeering. But both sides sort of making those compelling arguments and opening statements that for the prosecution, that he is guilty. For the defense, obviously saying that he's not guilty of these crimes that he's alleged to have committed.
Alex Fine, Cassie's husband, against the defense's desires by coming out in favor. The judge's decision that he must go in the event of an alleged 2018. After Diddy's attorneys stated that they might summon him as a witness and claimed that he sent the rapper a threatening text regarding the alleged event, Cassie accuses Diddy of.
We know that according to previous hearings, she could be on that stand for 2 to 3 days.
Come on, of course she didn't want that, some jurors may believe. Where's the proof that Diddy made her do it against her, will others might ask.
Are these freak-offs orchestrated?
So Cassie kind of walked the jury through what her role was in the freak-offs and how she said that Combs had choreographed them. He was the director in charge. And what she described was that these freak-offs lasted from 36 to 72 hours. The longest one, she said, lasted 4 days. And through that period, she said her role had evolved from initially Combs setting up the first one to then it becoming essentially her job. These freak-offs, she said, were occurring weekly. And what she was responsible for was finding these escorts, using Craigslist, some of these other escort services, helping them travel to certain locations from Miami to Ibiza, to New York, to LA, to Las Vegas. And that she worked with Combs's business travel people in order to move people around, saying that they would project that they were potential employers and getting them to move. But she said that he had everything to do with what she was wearing. She said she would buy outfits from sex shops and see which one he wanted her to wear. And then inside the actual hotel rooms, their apartments where the freak-offs took place, she said that Combs was in charge of lighting. It began with candles. It then moved to studio lighting, that he was directing how they moved from each action of each sexual act in these freak-offs, and even the amount of baby oil that they were wearing. She said that he wanted them to be glistening, and so he would often encourage them to put on more baby oil. And then part of that testimony, she said, was that she had engaged and used numerous drugs, including ecstasy, GHB, ketamine, cocaine, marijuana. And the prosecution showed text messages where before a freak-off, she is texting Combs asking, which colored pill do I take from your Louis Vuitton med bag? And he directed her which.
The jury may decide in either direction. Let's now discuss domestic violence. Cassie said that Diddy had severely abused her. We've all seen the footage of him assaulting her. It was vicious. She once had to hide in a hotel for a week until her injuries healed. Diddy's defense team acknowledged the abuse as well, but here's the thing: this case involves coercion and trafficking, not domestic abuse. Diddy's squad is essentially stating that, while they did fight, it was reciprocal. Even older stories of Cassie acting violently, when high are being shown, it remains to be seen if the jury believes them or not.
Tell you that immediately, the moment she opened her mouth, you could see that Combs was listening intently to everything that she has to say, as well as those jurors. People know that she was that star witness, the key person in all of this. When you think about that civil suit that came out in 2023, that was settled the day after, she really is the person that connects all the dots. When you look at the indictment and you look at some of the charges, she's the one talking about the freak-offs and what was involved and how she had to act. The prosecution is asking her questions to show that she wasn't in control. She said that Sean Combs directed everything from what she had on to the lighting in the room to how she was supposed to interact with the person that she was having sex with. And again, just to reiterate what is a freak-off, the freak-off essentially was something that Cassie said she learned about through Sean Combs about a year into their relationship. He described it as voyeurism, wanting to watch her have sex with someone else. And she said that she did it because she was 22, 21. She was young. She didn't know any better, and that she wanted to please Sean Combs.
And at some point in time, she actually had said that she looked forward to the freak-offs. Why did Cassie express looking forward to these said freak-offs?
When the prosecution asked her, was there ever a time that you enjoyed the freak-offs? This is when Cassie got choked up, and she said, I did, but only because I got to spend one-on-one time with Combs, and I really did love him.
And that is speaking to the psychological abuse, in addition to the physical abuse that she potentially experienced as well.
She's definitely laying out someone who was young, who was influenced by wanting to have this record career. She signed a 10-album deal with Bad Boy Entertainment, led by Sean Combs, and basically describes being enamored by Sean Combs, loving him, not knowing about certain things sexually, and him sort of telling her, teaching her about that. And what you hear is someone that was young and she even said...
It's also intriguing that the prosecution intends to show the jury one of the videos. It is unknown how the judge will handle it, and the defense does not want the media to view it. Will the jury be the only ones to see it, or will it be played in a private courtroom? Nobody is certain if the video depicts Diddy coercing anyone into doing anything, but it might alter the jury's opinion of Cassie. They currently witness her in court, calm and pregnant. They could feel differently if they watch her on that old video. Depending on what it demonstrates, it could be beneficial or harmful. According to experts, the matter is more complex than we initially believed.
She was going to be with someone in this music industry that was going to help her career, that cared about her, but quickly learned after the freak-offs that wasn't the case. And what I thought was also interesting is she said that after that first freak-off, she said she felt dirty. She didn't want to do it. And when she brought up the idea of having a conversation about the freak-offs in an email, which the jurors saw, she said she backpedaled in the email because Combs responded by saying, I know, you don't want to do it. And she said, oh, no, well, it's not that. But that was the beginning. That was in 2010, where she brings up in an email that she wanted to have a conversation about this. And in her words, she didn't want to do it, but she felt like she had to do it.
So difficult to hear all of these details. And since taking the stand, Cassie has been emotional. What made Cassie emotional on the stand?
I think what made Cassie emotional is having to describe the details of the freak-off and why she did it. When she talked about wanting to do it to please Sean Combs, that's when she broke down. Up until that point, she had just been answering the questions. She's a little soft-spoken at times, but that's when she got emotional. When she had to answer the question about if she enjoyed it, that's when she broke down, because she said, I enjoyed being with Sean Combs. And she says, I did it because it made him happy.
What did the expressions of the jurors look like?
The jurors are laser focused on what Cassie has to say. And that's to be expected, right? Because she is the person who will likely be on the stand, according to attorneys, for 2, maybe 3 days. She's the one that was in the relationship with Sean Combs for over 10 years. So she's got a lot to say, and she's just getting started.
Prosecutors did gain some ground today, particularly with the threat of the video, but it wasn't a complete victory. Not quite yet. There are still many unanswered questions in the case, and the jury will have to determine whether Diddy's intimidation, power, and Cassie's fear result in a guilty conviction. Keep an eye out. This trial is not at all